So 10 years ago-ish, your daughter, your oldest, you have 4 at the time?
I had 4 at the time. Yeah.
Okay. 4 at the time. And your daughter, who is now, an adult, comes to you and says what?
Mom, first she acted really weird. So
a lot of people in network marketing do that.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is act really weird.
Yeah. She acted weird. She told me
what's her name?
Amber.
Amber. So Amber comes to you and she's not talking like Amber.
Yes.
She's talking like something else.
Yes.
And you're like, Amber, what is going on?
Yeah. And we're very close.
Yeah,
so I was
yeah.
like, what is this conversation? Like, I don't even know. But so I was in California. She was in Tennessee. And we were talking on the phone and I was getting ready to go out there to visit for a while. And she said, I need to talk to you about something when you get here. And I was like, okay, like that's concerning, So I was like, well, what is it? And she's like, well, I want to talk to you when you get here. And I'm like, well, could you give me a hint? Like, I'm going to worry. Like, what is it? And she said, well, it's called. And I was like, okay, like, what does that mean? And she was like, well, I just want to talk to you later. And then I kind of forced it out of her.
Right.
And she very awkwardly said, well, I started this thing and there's like possibly a business. And I hung up the phone and I said, my baby got into one of those things. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, this is a problem.
Welcome to the Excellence Project. My name is Eric Worre. And in today's episode, we have a top network marketing earner. Her name is Lori Bradford. She's going to tell a very unusual story, upbringing to success, building a family, building a legacy. I think you're going to find it very, very fascinating. So with no further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Lori Bradford. Lori Bradford.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Really
Good. Tell me where you live.
I live in Atascadero, California.
Atascadero. Where is Atascadero?
It's the central coast of California.
Central
so
coast.
Nearest big city would be San Luis Obispo.
Okay. Got it.
Which is still a small city.
Yes. Yes. So we just came off of doing a big mastermind event here for top earners. You're a top earner in your company.
Yes.
We don't necessarily talk about incomes, but like in the rankings of your company, where are you currently?
I'd be in the top 10.
Top 10 in your company, in a big company.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to, talk about kind of lessons learned, your journey. Before we turn the cameras on, you're talking about, like your style versus somebody else's style, other people's styles, big personalities, small personalities. You're kind of a reserved, I would say maybe introverted person. Is that accurate?
Yes. I love people, but I'm definitely introverted.
So how do you define introversion?
I recover alone. Like I need to get alone.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm the same exact way. I lose energy in a crowd.
Yes.
I'll psych myself up for a particular event, whether it's today or during the mastermind or whatever. But when I know it's done,
yes,
I need to go stare at the wall. I need to just be alone. Like my little legal pad or my journal or something is helpful for me. Just having some space to be able to recharge. I think there's a lot of people inside of network marketing, way more introverts than I ever expected at the top earning ranks, even though they don't appear to be sometimes.
Yeah, I see that too. And I think it's because what I've heard that's given me a lot of comfort and a lot of encouragement is that it's not that we don't like people. It's that we actually can tune into people so intensely. And so that's why we need that time to step back and recover.
I've never even really made that connection because I'm an empath. I'll connect with somebody else's emotions very quickly. So maybe that's why. It's interesting. I've never made the connection of the empath in me being what causes me to lose energy in crowds of people.
It's actually because you're so in tune, you're listening so deeply, you're connecting so much. So it kind of wears you out.
Yeah. I've never made that connection. I've heard people who are massage therapists, that sometimes there's people who have negative energy when they're giving them a massage and they completely drain them
Yeah.
of that. If anybody is a massage therapist listening to this or watching this, let me know if that's true in the comments. I'd be curious because I've heard that many. It's like, oh yeah, that person wiped me out completely just from interaction with them. So anyway, it makes sense. So how in the world, well, we're going to get to how in the world you became so successful as this quiet, introverted person in a very people-driven business. But before we do that, can you give us a little bit of background as far as where you come from, your story?
Sure. That's going to be long.
Sorry.
So my story's a little bit different. I sometimes feel really awkward when I tell people it because it's got so many twists and turns and things that seem like, how could that be all one person? But so I grew up, both my parents were in wheelchairs. They were handicapped.
Wow.
And so I grew up around the disabled community a lot. And I feel like this is important because it contributed to my journey in network marketing and probably to part of my personality and being empathetic and all of that. So as a young kid, I was working with blind people, mentally disabled people, people in wheelchairs. I was the little girl that was able to run around and move and do things. And so my parents were part of the rec league, and they would go to all these different handicap events.
Oh,
and
so that's why I was wondering how you were working with all these other people, but because your parents were, what's the proper term?
they both had cerebral palsy.
Okay. But I mean, is it handicapped? Is it physically challenged?
Handicap. We said handicap.
Okay. I don't even know
Okay.
what the
I don't know.
politically correct term is
I
anymore.
don't. Yeah.
So I just want to be respectful.
Yeah.
But so they both had cerebral palsy? Your
Yes.
mom and dad?
My mom and dad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that even function in your household, first of all?
Well, we were on food stamps and welfare and, government assistance and assistance from the church. And the government actually provided a worker to come in and help. And the person they provided couldn't speak English. So I learned Spanish. But she was great. There were different ones that would rotate in and out, but the one that was there for the longest, she didn't speak any English.
Wow.
But so that's another part of my story. But so I would go with my parents to the rec league, and there were workers there that were physically able, just like I was, and they'd have this little girl running around. So they put me to work. They'd have me like push people's wheelchairs around or feed them or, just kind of help them.
Yeah. So you get some sense of your kind of purpose and significance from doing that?
Yeah. And I also learned to love to work. Yeah.
Being of service.
Mm-hmm.
So were you an only child?
I had an older sister, but she was 14 years older than me. My mom's first husband passed away. So for the most part, I was an only child in the home at the time.
Right. Did interaction with your older sister back at the time when you were a little one?
Yeah, but this is another part of my story is even though my dad was disabled, he was actually very physically abusive to me and my mom. So she was more handicapped than he was. And he had, use of his upper body. He was actually like a bodybuilder and really into physical activity. And he had a super bad temper. So he would be abusive to my sister. So she just didn't live at home anymore. She lived with my grandma.
I'm trying to imagine this existence of you as a little one in this environment where dad's lashing out, but still needs help. Mom needs help. You need help, but you get to like learn another language from somebody to be able to get some of the help sometimes. I'm just trying to think about like, how'd you get ready for school? Who made meals? How did this, I'm just trying to, envision how it even worked.
Well, I loved my mom. My mom was like an angel. She was just the sweetest person in the world. I never heard my mom say one bad thing about my dad or about anyone in her life ever. And so I felt a big sense of responsibility to her. And so physically, my dad did need help, but I was more focused on helping my mom not get abused by my dad, like physically hit by him when he would get upset. So my grandma, I would go to my grandma's house sometimes, but who got me ready for school? I mean, either me or if the lady assigned by the state was there. I learned to be very independent.
Sure.
I started cooking at 8 years old, made dinner for my parents. There was a lot of positive reinforcement for things that I did like that. So gave me a big sense of responsibility, but it also was like a lot of trauma.
There's lessons in it, of course, but
Yeah.
childhood trauma sometimes will make a person stronger in certain aspects, but it'll also create some programming and some repeating patterns that happen in their lives from time to time. But if I fast forward at all, I mean, are your parents still alive?
No.
Okay.
And I did spend a lot of time with my grandma, but and she was, a wonderful grandma.
Yeah.
But I always tried to get back to my parents' house to take care of my mom. But yeah, they're not alive anymore.
Did there ever come a time when you confronted your father about how he was acting?
There came a time when I severed the relationship.
That was the way of confronting. Just say.
Yeah, I was pregnant with my last. So I have 4 children. I have 9 grandchildren with a 10th on the way.
Wow.
And I was pregnant with my last one, and I had my son in a car seat right next to me. And my dad got upset and tried to strangle me while I was pregnant.
What in the world?
And so I was like, it wasn't a direct confrontation, but I just told him, I'm not going to be seeing you anymore.
Wow. Can't even imagine. So that's probably one of many, yes?
Yeah.
One of many stories?
Oh yeah. Tons.
Wow. So you kind of go through this experience, which seems like a movie.
Yeah, because there's other things I'm leaving out, but yes, it's like a movie.
So what other things are you leaving out?
I ended up with an abusive boyfriend.
Oh, so the pattern repeated.
A lot of pattern repetitive. Yeah.
Like what are the patterns that you think from that experience that you saw repeated in your life?
Kind of codependency, just not drawing boundaries really well. Yeah.
Right. People pleasing, trying to keep everybody happy. Even if it meant sacrificing your own happiness.
Yes.
Over and over.
Over and over.
So, okay. So you get through school. When do you move out? How old are you when you move
15.
out? 15.
15.
That's early.
Yeah.
So was the state taking care of mom and dad at the time?
That's a whole other story. If you want it, I can tell you. But
I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm like full of stories where just there were circumstances that my dad was bringing into my home that kind of put me at risk physically. There was a guy, he moved in there, and so I moved out.
Got it. So where'd you move?
Into an apartment with 9 other people.
Wow. How'd you find these 9 people?
My friend. I slept on the floor.
Wow. So you move out at 15, sleeping on the floor, still going to school. What does your mom think of this situation when you moved out?
My dad started drugging my mom.
What the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she barely knew. Like she was just.
And you felt helpless. There was nothing you could do about it.
There was nothing I could do.
You had to be safe.
Yeah. But I did go back later in life and get her.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to get to this super entrepreneur story, but the creation story is pretty fascinating. You finish high school. What happens after that?
I actually dropped out of high school.
Dropped out of high school. When?
Yeah. Right after that. Right after I moved into.
So then what'd you do?
I ended up going to a continuation school for a little while. And that actually is part of my business story. Because there was a counselor there. He was a great counselor. And I tested really high on SAT tests. And I was leaving that continuation school because it was so boring. It was such a joke. And I needed to make money and support myself. So I went to the office to tell him, that I was going to be leaving and not coming back. And he gave me a personal development book. This part will make me cry. But he told me that I was too smart for that school. And he told me, just please read this book. Like, you're made for better things. And so I remember.
What was the book?
I don't even remember the title.
Oh, wow. What was it? What was the counselor's name? Do you remember?
Nope.
Wow. Just an angel that showed up at the right time in your life.
I just remember thinking, why is he so interested in me? Like, he kept calling me into his office and trying to have me tell him. And then, like you do when you're a kid, like I never really opened up.
Right.
But he cared enough to just challenge me. And I remember getting in my car, because I had a car at the time, and just throwing the book on the seat and thinking, I'm not going to read that. And then just looking over it. And I was like, I guess I'll just read it. And it just really changed a lot for me.
Wow. And you don't remember the book?
I don't remember the book.
Wow. You got to go get some hypnosis and find out which one, so everybody can know which is the book. But what did the book do for you?
Well, there was something that I did, like even as maybe like a 12-year-old, I remember doing this. So I lived in a poor area, but right next to where we lived, there was a really rich area. And I would ride my bike over there. And I would say, like, someday I'm going to live in this area. Someday I'm going to live in one of those houses. And I was always entrepreneurial as a child. Like, I got a job, my first job at 12. So I walked down the block and there was my friend's dad, and he used to sell tools at the flea market. And he was injured somehow in the military. I don't remember what was wrong with him, something with his back. And he was like, hey, you. He was like, will you come over here and load up this van for me? I was like, sure. So I started putting all the boxes in the van. And he's like, if I paid you to come with me, to the flea market, if I paid you $20 a day, would you unload and I said, sure. So that was like my first job.
Man, that sounds like the beginning of an abduction story.
I know.
And it's like, come over to the van and help me load and unload the van and just drive with me, little girl.
Yeah.
But thank God.
Well, it was my friend's dad.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't stranger danger.
No.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So back then I used to write after I, ride my bike to the wealthy area. I had a yellow notepad, and I didn't even know this was a thing or where I got it from, but I would write like how I wanted my life to be. And I would say I wrote it in the first person tense, like I make $1,000 a month. Like I thought that was going to make me so rich. And so when I read that personal development book, it kind of connected back, it was just connected back to all the things that I had been thinking, and it set me on that course of personal development.
Interesting. So this seed gets planted. Mm-hmm. It starts when you're younger. It gets reinforced when you're dropping out of school. Mm-hmm. You're living with 9 people in some sort of dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
Apartment. And then where do you go from there? You're still in Central California at the time?
No. I was in the Bay Area.
In the Bay Area.
About 30 minutes from San Francisco.
30 minutes from San Francisco. So what's the next step of your life?
Well, I had several jobs, like most teenagers, went from job to job.
The teenage jobs?
Yeah, the teenage jobs.
Yeah.
I worked at 7-Eleven. I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I got a job stuffing envelopes. Like I just had like various different jobs. And then I went back to my grandma's house. Mm-hmm. I started teaching exercise classes. So I started managing a women's gym. Well, actually, I was first working the front desk, and then the owner promoted me to manager, and I was still a teenager. And then one day, I used to take the exercise classes, and then one day she was like, hey, you, You're going to teach this class. And I was like, I have no idea, how to teach a class. And she was like, just go out there and do something. And so that began my career with teaching exercise classes. And then I went back to living with my grandmother. She got sick and got put in the hospital. So I was living at her house by myself while she was in the hospital. I looked in the ads of the newspaper and there was like Jack in the Box, or there was an ad that said make $300,000 a year. And I picked the $300,000 a year one.
Why would you pick that over Jack in the Box? Yeah, my gosh.
It said like no experience required.
Right.
Like,
what year was this?
Probably 1985.
80s?
Maybe 1986. Yeah, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm.
So this is the time, and many people listening to this will not relate to this at all. But I got involved in 1988 in the network marketing profession, and newspaper ads were part of the strategy prior to social media as far as how you would connect with people who are interested in opportunities or trying to find a way to make money. So you respond to this ad.
I respond to the ad and it says to go to this meeting. So I went.
So what was it?
It wasn't network marketing.
Really?
No, it was selling securities.
Okay.
And so getting your Series 6 license, which is just to do mutual funds.
Yep.
So I sat in a room, listened to the thing. You had to pay $700. And you were going to take your Series 6 test, and then you were going to get trained on how to sell mutual funds. So I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you go and you went to work?
I went to work.
Okay.
I got my Series 6. I took the sales training that they gave us. And then we would sit at long tables with a cross-reference type, I forget what it was called, book where it had like people's names. Leads.
Big lead book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and
Glenn
call.
Gary and Glenn Ross. The Glenn Gary leads, or whatever they called them.
Yes.
These are the golden leads.
Yes.
In the movie. So they provided you with leads and said, start dialing for dollars.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you how old are you when you're doing this now?
I was 18.
You're 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
calling people to invest in mutual funds.
Uh-huh. Yes.
So how'd that work out?
It worked out great because we had two trainers. Their names were John and Karen. And they did a really good job in those 2 weeks telling us that a lot of people were going to tell us no, but that the no's would lead to the yeses. And so I sat in there with college educated men in suits. I was one of the only women and certainly the youngest person there. I didn't tell anybody how young I was.
Sure.
But I had this blind faith in John and Karen. And so the no's got me excited. Right. I was like, oh, we're going to get a lot of no's.
So a little bit of preparation that no wasn't a bad thing. It was headed towards a yes.
Yes.
And if they wouldn't have said that, if they would have said everybody's going to say yes, and you started getting all these no's, it probably would have ran you right out of the room.
Right.
So you were emotionally and mentally prepared. Your expectations were set.
Yes.
You get a lot of no's. They're not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So let's just get through them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you how many dials a day were you doing? Can you remember?
I remember I sat there all day. I don't know how many dials a day, but I took my work really seriously.
Yep.
And I had a lot of belief.
Okay.
They told me I was going to be successful. And so I believed that I was going to be successful.
So how much did you make?
I made $80,000 a year.
No way.
As an 18-year-old.
80,000 and selling mutual funds, cold calling, leads out of a book.
Yes. And what happened to me that, prepared me for network marketing in the future is I saw these guys, these college educated guys in these suits that they just weren't there the next day. And people just dropped off like flies, and then new people would come in. And I would be like, where'd Sam go? And they'd be like, oh, he quit. Like,
he couldn't take the rejection.
Well, I was like, well, John and Karen said people were going to say no. Did he not listen to John and Karen? It was just astonishing to me.
So 80,000, you're thinking about $1,000 a year, but 80,000 a year, at 18 in the
I was
80s.
loaded.
You were loaded. So did you get your own place?
I shared with a roommate,
Okay.
but I got a nice car.
Yeah.
And I actually, this is the crazy thing, I got recruited away. Actually, it's a really beautiful story, the way that I got recruited away.
Great. Tell me.
So there was this guy named Bill, and I helped him, like when he came in. Like he was nervous, and I helped him become successful. Kind of took him under my wing. And then one day he said, I want you to meet me in San Francisco for lunch. He told me come have lunch because he went and worked at a different firm, and he got a Series 7 license and worked at a different firm. He's like, come have lunch with me. So and we weren't dating or anything. He was actually dating my friend. And so I went to have lunch with him, and it was a complete setup. He set me up with his dad. His dad was the owner. It was called Wolf and Sampson. It was across the street from the Pacific Stock Exchange. And it wasn't lunch with Bill. It was an interview with his dad. And so he never told me that that was his dad. So he told his dad what I had done for him. And then he told me I wanted to prove myself outside of my dad's company. But I think you belong here. And so it was an interview with his dad. I got hired. I got my Series 7 license. I had my own office. It was great.
So you went from Series 6 to Series 7.
Mm-hmm.
You get, somebody, you help somebody, and that connection helped you get introduced to a powerful person.
Yes.
Who could provide opportunity. You get your next license. How old are you at this point?
19.
19. And I'm guessing Series 7, you start making more money.
Yes.
Yeah. So how much you making then?
Like 120.
Like 120. I mean, in today's dollars, it's got to be like triple.
Yeah.
350, 400,000 type of income back then. Single girl, 19,
Yeah.
in shape. You're like, every guy in the whole place had to be wanting to like date you.
I don't know.
No, come on.
No,
No?
not really. I mean, I don't remember that part.
All right.
I had different boyfriends. I wasn't skilled in that area. Like just not.
You're focused on security, survival, independence.
Yeah. I had a boyfriend that I had since I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So you work for this Wolf, and all I could think of was Wolf of Wall Street, but
Wolf and Hanson. Yeah.
So you go to work for this company, and how long did you stay there?
I stayed there about a year and a half, and then I got recruited away from a headhunter.
To what?
To working in the banks, doing their investments for them. And it was more income, not the San Francisco commute. Yeah.
Okay. So you do that for how long?
Until, I did that for probably about 2 years.
Okay. Then what?
I stopped working.
Why?
Because I got married.
Okay. So you have this meteoric rise. You're making bank in every direction, and you stop.
Yeah. What happened is I got pregnant and had my first daughter.
Yep.
And with the boyfriend that was, from
Is this
high
the
school.
daughter that you work with in your business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so when I married my husband that I was married to for 27 years, which was not her dad, and I had my second child, that's when I stopped working.
Okay. So you stopped working, and I'm assuming he had some level of financial security.
He did the same thing. He had,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's how I met him. We worked together.
Got it. So you work together, and now you become mom.
Stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home mom.
Which was what I wanted to be.
Right. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you stay-at-home mom for how long until you find yourself a little restless and like you need to have a project?
I wasn't really restless.
Okay.
My husband had some health issues, and he was telling me he didn't think that he would be able to continue to work.
I see.
And so I was praying for a solution, and I thought the solution would be something for him. I never thought it would be something for me, because where we were in life, it was like really frowned on that a mom would work.
Why is that?
It's just the community and the culture that we were in. We were very conservative.
What's the community and culture?
We were
what's
home.
What's the code? The code you're not telling me.
The code. We were home churching. We were. I went through a period of time where like I didn't wear makeup. I didn't wear jewelry. I wasn't wearing. We weren't supposed to wear pants. Like there were a lot of like restrictions.
What's the specific?
UPC was part of it.
What's UPC mean?
First United Pentecostal Church.
Okay, First United Pentecostal. So it's a particular denomination of religious faith.
Yeah,
but they had very, very conservative views.
Yes, and then from there we went into even more conservative.
What's even more conservative than that?
Just not anything named, just churching in our home.
Okay,
like,
so it's just like very, very kind of cellular, like very walled garden, closed in, don't get infected by the outside world.
Yeah.
Type of a thing. Okay. So you do that.
Yeah.
And being a person of faith, I'm guessing that part of that reward system inside of there was to be subservient to the man and to be obedient and
submissive and quiet.
Submission and quiet and all of those things, which seems completely counterintuitive to what you were doing prior to getting married.
Yes.
Being bold and being out there and growing and helping people and serving people. And now it's be quiet. You never felt a conflict in that? Or was it peaceful?
It was peaceful.
Okay.
Like I didn't have a problem with that.
I'm not saying you should have. I'm watching this polar distance between kind of be helpful and quiet at the beginning of your life, be loud and helpful, in this career thing, and then kind of finding security and being quiet again inside of there. But being, I'm assuming supermom.
Supermom.
Being supermom.
I loved being supermom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're supermom.
And I hosted a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're still using your skill sets, but you're going down this line. So supermom, and then your husband has some health issues, and there starts to be some concern about security of the family, and that leads you on this journey.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about it. I just want to jump in and quickly interrupt this podcast interview and give those of you involved in network marketing a very special message. And that message is this: if you want to grow your business, I can help. If you're just getting started, you don't have any recruits yet, you don't have much of a team, I can help you get to your first 10 recruits. If you've got some recruiting going on, but you need more help with duplication, I can help you on your journey from part-time to full-time. And if you're a serious player, I can help you scale and grow your business. All you have to do is go to goproacademy.com, goproacademy.com. Wherever you are in your journey of network marketing, this program will help you get where you want to go much, much faster. I've helped millions of people learn how to recruit. I've helped tens of thousands of people get to six-figure a year income. And I've helped over 500 people get to a seven-figure annual income inside of this network marketing profession. I can help you too. Go to goproacademy.com, goproacademy.com.
So, my daughter actually introduced me to our product, and I had a few invitations to do network marketing.
How long ago was this?
Over 10 years.
Okay. So about 10 years-ish.
I'm in my 11th year.
All right. Now. So 2000 what, 12?
13. 2013.
No, wait, what am I doing?
2013.
13.
Yeah. End of 2013.
End of 2013. All right, fine. So 10 years ago-ish, your daughter, your oldest, you have 4 at the time?
I had 4 at the time. Yeah.
Okay. 4 at the time. And your daughter, who is now, an adult, comes to you and says what?
Mom, first she acted really weird. So
a lot of people in network marketing do that.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is act really weird.
Yeah, she acted weird. She told me
what's her name?
Amber.
Amber. So Amber comes to you and she's not talking like Amber.
Yes.
She's talking like something else.
Yes.
And you're like, Amber, what is going on?
Yeah. And we're very close.
Yeah,
so I was
yeah,
like, what is this conversation? Like, I don't even know. But so I was in California, she was in Tennessee, and we were talking on the phone, and I was getting ready to go out there to visit for a while. And she said, I need to talk to you about something when you get here. And I was like, okay, like that's concerning, So I was like, well, what is it? And she's like, well, I want to talk to you when you get here. And I'm like, well, could you give me a hint? Like, I'm going to worry. Like, what is it? And she said, well, it's called. And I was like, okay, like, what does that mean? And she was like, well, I just want to talk to you later. And then I kind of forced it out of her.
Right.
And she very awkwardly said, well, I started this thing and there's like possibly a business. And I hung up the phone and I said, my baby got into one of those things. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, this is a problem,
right?
But I just sort of shelved it and then waited until I was going to be there with her. But my goal was going to be to rescue her.
Talk her out of it.
Yes.
So you get there.
Yes.
And she sits you down.
No, she just says, Mom, I'm taking this. It's helping me. If it's going to kill me, go ahead and tell me. But I'd like to continue taking it because it's helping me.
Right.
And she said, could you look at this and find something right with it? Because you find something wrong with everything.
Wow.
And that was perfect because
say that again.
She said, could you look at it and let me, I want to continue to take it because it's helping me,
right.
But can you find something right with it? Because you find something wrong with everything.
That's a very interesting way to go talk to somebody. Can you find something right with this? Because you find something wrong with everything.
Well, it's because I've always been into health.
Yes. And you have some experience and all this stuff. So, all right, but she didn't ask you to poke holes in it and find something wrong. She asked you to find something right.
Yes. And that was such a perfect setup for me because I got defensive. I was like, I don't find something wrong with everything. I'm
going to find something right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So she just, how did you learn more about it? Was there videos?
No, I looked into it myself. Like I looked at all the ingredients, looked it over and.
Did you try it?
No.
You didn't try it?
I had no intention of trying it.
Not to even sample? Mm-mm. Not to see what it tastes like?
Nope.
Nothing?
No.
Really? Mm-mm. All right. But so you do your homework.
I did my homework. I told her it's good for you. You can keep taking it.
Okay.
See, I can find stuff right with things.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the next step?
She mixed it up and wanted me to drink it.
Right.
And we had like this battle across the kitchen counter with it sloshing over the side. And she's like, just drink it. You said it was okay. And I was like, I said it was okay for you.
Right.
Like, I don't need it. I don't want it. And then she said something that really hit the nail on the head. She was like, you have been complaining about your weight. Because I had my last two kids back to back at an older age, and I wasn't really recovering from that very well. And so what she didn't know is that I was really afraid to I had just come to the place where I was accepting where I was at and thinking this is part of getting older. Like, you just need to be okay with this. And I didn't want to have hope. I wanted to be content where I was. But she forced me. She was like, can you just drink it for 5 days? If you don't like it, you don't have to take it anymore. And by the third day, I knew I liked it, but I still had a little fun with her, making her think she was forcing me.
So you try the product, you have some results, and at 5 days later, you have some results, right?
Yeah. I knew I liked it and I wanted to keep taking it.
All right. So how did that evolve now?
So she said, Mom, where's your credit card? I'm signing you up. And then because I'm not giving you free stuff anymore. And I was like, okay, fair enough. My credit card's over there.
Right.
And then she got me to 2 events that were really life-changing for me. So remember, I'm in the process of praying for financial solution.
Right.
And so she got me to a training meeting. I had committed to go, but I've forgotten that I'd committed to go.
And where was it?
In Tennessee, on that same trip. So I had gone to Whole Foods and filled up my groceries. My car was full of groceries, and she's calling me. She's like, Mom, you're supposed to be at this training meeting. And I'm like, I went to the store and it's a hot day and I'm not going to be able to go to the training meeting. And she said, I will meet you at the training meeting. I will take your groceries in my car, go unload them. And then I said, my hair's a mess. I have the window down. I will bring you a brush. And I was like, I'm only going to go to the last 15 minutes. And she said, just please, like everything. And I was like, okay, fine. So that was what happened.
Smart girl.
Yeah. And those last 15 minutes were like life-changing.
Why?
Because it reminded me of that experience when I was younger with John and Karen, because
you were like, wait a minute. I used to be good at this.
Well, it was the last 15 minutes of a training meeting, and she was doing Q&A, and the people were basically saying, well, I asked this person said no. And that was like their whole thing.
And you're like, hey, I have an answer for this.
Yeah, I have an answer. And the answer she was giving, I was like, makes perfect sense. You know, so I already knew that piece, even though it was so long ago. And I just thought about the guys in the bullpen that left, and then the success that I ended up having. And so it was really, it opened my eyes.
Okay. So you're like, all these old memories flood back. Like, wait a minute. I used to be a badass.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be a crusher. I used to be, when everybody else quit, I used to be the one that moved forward.
It was just more me thinking, I know how to stay the course.
Yeah.
Like,
I know this.
Yes.
I can do this.
Yes.
And if they're having any success, I can have it too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you make the connection that this might be the thing for the family?
Well, that was like the seed planted major. And then she got me to an opportunity event where people actually shared the products in the business. And I went
where do you remember where it was?
Centerville, Tennessee.
Like in a hotel or something?
No, a tiny little room that they had rented, connected to like the gas and electric company or something.
Like just some little conference room.
Little conference room.
And how many people are sitting in this room?
20
people in the room.
Yeah.
And the person doing the presentation, you're thinking while they're doing the presentation, they have no idea who I am sitting here, because I know how to do this already.
Well, I was just thinking I can do this. Like
Right.
if she can do this.
So you won't even take a compliment there. You won't. Yeah, I'm giving you one.
Thank you.
Yes, I know. But you're like, no. I'm just little me.
Thank you.
You know. So you watch this presentation, and what's going through your mind as you're watching it?
I was getting excited. I was thinking I can do this.
Was your daughter sitting there next to you?
She didn't even go.
Oh,
her friend went.
Was there ever any part of it that like that resisted doing it because she wanted you to do it so bad?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. You played with her a little bit with the product.
The product, yeah.
Okay. But not the business.
Right.
Once the seed was planted, you're like, okay, fine.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're saying I can do this.
Yeah.
And after that presentation, then what?
Okay. So I wrote some massive long messages to people that were doing the business, and who I'm super good friends with this person now. Her name's Sonia. And she teases me. She was like, you were staring me down. She was like, if your eyes could have driven a hole through my head, like that's what you were doing.
She was doing the presentation?
Yeah, she was there. And she was like, I remember that she was like, you were so intense. And then I opened up my Facebook the next day and had like lengthy, like book long messages. And so I was vetting it. Like I just wanted to make sure before I got all in that I had asked every question, that I had really like shared my heart and felt like it had been answered. And
so this whole time you were visiting in Tennessee, and were the other 3 kids back in the Bay Area?
No, they were here with us. We had a house that we would go to.
In a house in Tennessee?
Yeah, we had a house in Tennessee.
Okay, so a summer house there.
Summer house, yeah.
And then the Bay Area, Northern California, let's say.
At that time, we were living in Hollister.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where Hollister is.
Actually, I think we were living in Templeton. We were living somewhere. I don't know. Somewhere in California.
Somewhere in
there.
California.
Yeah.
All right. But so you had a place in Tennessee. So the whole family was there.
Well, my adult married daughters lived there with their husbands.
Got it.
And my 2 younger ones were still at home with us in the summer house in Tennessee.
Got it. Okay, fine. So when you decide to do this and you come home and tell your husband, what was the reaction?
He was extremely supportive because when we first met, we worked together. And so he knew, like I was saying, I can do this.
Right.
And I want to do this. And I think that this is an answer to prayer.
Got it.
Yeah. So he was supportive.
So from first exposure to saying, you know what, I'm actually going to start building now.
Mm-hmm.
How long was that process for you?
From when I first signed up, which would have been
No, not first signed up. The first phone call from your daughter to the time that you said, I'm going to start building. I'm going to start selling and recruiting.
Maybe 6 to 7 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks. And how many questions did you ask? How many objections did you throw up? How many, how much research did you do in those 6 or 7 weeks? It sounds like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the products, I did quite a bit. And then on the business, once I got exposed. Yeah.
Figure out the comp plan, figure out, okay, what's my strategy going to be? How am I going to do this? At least a little bit?
No, I asked people how much they were making.
Yep.
And then I connected over not so much the details of the comp plan, but I just more wanted to know about the people that I would be working with.
Great.
Like, that mattered to me.
Yeah, love it. But you felt like you could make some money.
Yes.
That was going to justify 100%. The time.
100%.
So how old was your youngest at this time?
7.
So balancing being supportive supermom and now being entrepreneur and supermom. How did you balance that?
Didn't balance it very well. There were a lot of nights where, it was maybe 7:00 and I realized I hadn't made dinner. I was very driven and feeling like I just needed to get a job done.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought that this was such an incredible business model and such a crazy business opportunity that if I didn't hurry up, everyone was going to do it.
Right.
So I got to the top of the company in 11 months.
11 months.
11 months.
So the top rank. Is that the same rank you're at now, or did they add more ranks?
No, this is the rank I'm at now.
All right. So in 11 months, you go from standing start to, you remember about how many people you had on your team after 11 months?
No.
Any
I just
idea?
know what the points would be.
Because
it could be
like, how many people do you think you personally recruited in that period of time?
Myself, maybe 30.
Okay, 30 people. And then you help them grow. And about how much were you making after month 11?
I don't know if my company would want me to say
approximately.
That. Actually, the truth is, I told my husband at the time that I did not want to know how much I was making.
Yeah.
And I told him, because I told him not to tell me until I got to a certain mark. That was just going to be better for me.
Why was it going to be better? You just focused on the work and not on the results?
Focus on the work and not on the results.
Huh. And that was it then. That was helpful for you. Were you rank driven? Like, get to that next rank, get that thing done? You have
to remember that I was also really in the culture that I was in at the time where, and I didn't have access to our finances. So I didn't know, what the data.
So it's a very male dominated culture. Very, very male dominated. Are you still in the very male dominated culture?
No.
So eventually you said no to the male dominated culture. Nothing against people's beliefs, but I'm glad you did.
There were other reasons.
Yes,
why
no.
Yeah.
I'm not judging all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be balance in families, and there is, principles that definitely apply.
Yeah.
But yeah, to not have access to what you're doing, it's just so anti. Like my wife and I, completely different conversation. As far as Anyway,
I think it can work out in the right circumstances. It wasn't the right circumstances.
Yeah, I'm not judging for somebody else. I'm just saying it just wouldn't be for me.
Yeah.
So you get to the top rank. You're making Let's just assume it's a full-time income.
Very full-time income.
Very full-time income.
Yeah.
Can we say it was better than you ever made prior?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's continued to grow.
Continue to grow.
And now your company's, multiple hundred millions in sales company, and you're top 10.
Yes.
Okay. So you build, you grow.
Mm-hmm.
And your daughter is above you in the structure.
Yes.
So she has to be happy about this too.
She is.
Yeah. And I'm assuming she built in addition to what you built.
It took a little while for her to decide to build.
Really?
Outside of me. I really.
But there's just too much evidence.
Yeah.
That she's like, well, there's an asset there. If I don't go build, it's not going to be.
She had a lot of limiting beliefs. But
everybody does.
She's a powerhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. You told me about that privately.
Yes.
How strong she is.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Love that. All right. So tell me some of the lessons that you've learned being top 10 in one of these companies, a big company, over the past 10 years. What are some of the things that when you look back, it's like, well, if I was just to tell someone this lesson, here, what are the things that you found to be really, really important? If somebody was considering coming from their circumstance, stepping into this profession, or maybe they're in and they're playing small and they're tired of playing small, they're ready to play bigger. What kind of advice would you give them as somebody who was, I'm not going to say playing small, but maybe not, I mean, you were playing big as supermom, but there was more that you could give when it came to contributing to other people and helping and serving and doing all the things that you're great at, being an example to your kids, all of that. What would you tell somebody that's thinking, you know what, I need to play bigger?
Well, first of all, from the supermom category, I can tell you your kids grow up and they leave you. And it's, and I'm so grateful that I built my business because I would have been such an annoying mom of grown children. It's given me something, the empty nest thing is like a real thing.
Yeah.
And this is a super fulfilling part of my life. I love my business. I love what I do. Important tips would be the number one most important thing is belief. When I see people come into this company and you can just see it in their eyes, and it does not matter what rank they are, but you can just tell like that person is going all the way to the top, and it's 100% from their belief. And I love being the example. I've had people when I've met them, they have said, not to offend you, but if the way that you are, if you can do it, that really makes me feel like I can do it, which in essence means, you're not all that. You don't come across as all that. And I'm like, hey, I'm so happy to be that example because that's 100% true. If you have the belief, it doesn't matter where you start at.
Right.
Like you can definitely achieve your goals. So belief is important. Always applying yourself to personal growth is critically important. Having a vision, like what I used to do, where I wrote down when I was 12 years old, like I will make $1,000 a month. I think it's really important to have the vision of where you want to go and have that constantly in front of you. Consistency is everything. Have a way to track the work that you're doing, so that if you are needing help and coaching, you have something where you can bring it to the person and ask them. That's something that I did. Like I wrote down every single thing that I did every day, and I kept those papers because if I didn't reach my goal, I wanted to be able to go to somebody and say, here is what I've done. So belief, personal development, vision, consistency.
Sounds like you had a system too.
Yeah.
A system for daily method of operation that you were constantly working on.
Yes.
How important was teaching others?
Very important. And what I loved about the way that we grew our business is I quickly had business builders like in the first month. And we all—
Where did you find these people?
Friends.
Like, within, you had this small community, but it must have been strong relationships.
Strong relationships.
All right. So strong relationships in this small community, but it's just like, hey, I found something.
Yeah. I was like, I am going to make a lot of money. Like, this is amazing. And I want you to do this with me.
Yeah.
Like, that was how I communicated. Like, I 100% am going to make a lot of money.
Right. Total certainty.
Yeah.
And they're like, we believe you.
Yes.
So, so because maybe you hadn't flexed, none of them had probably seen you flex ever. And you flexed for the first time and they went, oh, there she is. I haven't seen this person. I like this person, but I haven't seen this person. Did you get any of those reactions from some of those people? A little bit of surprise?
No, I think what I'd done, even though I hadn't flexed, is I'd always been consistent in people's lives.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So,
but I mean, this level of certainty, this level, I'm going to make a lot of money. I found this thing.
No.
I want you to do this with me.
Probably no.
You know?
Yeah. Probably.
Because I mean, your energy when we were just talking about it, when you said that, is different than the other parts of the conversation even.
Yeah.
You know, I could see it in your eyes. It's
okay.
like, you took me right back there.
Yes.
To like.
I was like, if you don't want this, you are crazy.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. So, all right. So, you build this team, consistency, all that stuff. What about events? Are events important?
Events are important. And we figured it out together. So my daughter was my upline. Her bridesmaid is the one that had signed her up. We really didn't have people working above us.
Probably good.
Yeah. When I tell the story, it's kind of like, and we, walked 10,000 miles to school in the snow.
Yeah.
Like that type of story.
But it's probably good.
It was good. I think it was good.
I actually have a belief that if you have an upline that's amazing, it's detrimental to you, because if they do everything for you, they're so amazing, then you don't have to become much. You don't have to get strong. You don't have to learn new skills, because your upline will just keep doing it all for you. The best uplines are ones that teach you, but they're a little bit tough.
Yeah.
To say, no, I'm not going to do it again. No, now you have to do it. That kind of thing.
And I think that we had that by default because, I grew my business with my downline. We partnered together, like peers, and figured everything out. And we had—
So you just kind of had like a mastermind group. You had a group of people. All right, let's come up with a plan for this promotion. Let's come up with a plan for this product launch, or come up with a plan for this convention.
It was a bunch of stay-at-home moms where we're like—
Moms on a mission.
Moms on a mission. Yeah.
Yeah, going after it.
Yeah. And we had upline that was so far above us, but wonderful hearted. And so they would like contribute every now and then.
They were a resource every once in a while.
They couldn't really work with us. And actually, I think the fact that we were all busy made us grow a really strong team.
Sure.
Because of what you brought up. Like, we couldn't do everything for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So what percentage of your organization is women?
At least 80%.
80%. Yeah. The profession, I think, is 74 as across the entire profession. So a lot of moms, right? Guys too, they can get involved too. They can be successful too. I'm sure there's some top earners there too.
Yes.
But without any particular claim, how many people would you think today are earning a full-time income? Now, again, let me just, I'll put a number to it. You don't have to put any numbers to it. In the United States, the average household income is $55,000 a year for a household. That's the average in the United States.
Wow.
Okay. How many do you think, if you had to guess, in your organization make more than the average household income in the United States?
600.
600? Yeah. How many make double that, the average household income?
I'm guessing.
Guessing.
So maybe 300.
300.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, You've helped a lot of people.
It's probably higher than that.
Probably higher than that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you've helped a lot of people, a lot of moms, a lot of people find a way to work from home, find a way to be their own boss, find a way to have their own security. If security is taken away from them in the form of a spouse, partner, whatever, have their own security, find a way to have community, connect with others, find a way to contribute to the lives of others meaningfully, whether it's the product or the opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty special thing.
It is.
And if somebody's negative, caustic, abusive, you don't have to work with them. You don't have to be in their vicinity. You don't have to be connected to them in any way. You can have them out of your life instead of in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So how's that all feel when you kind of take that in and like, there's, approaching 1,000 families impacted very significantly, and a multiple of that impacted with a very nice little part-time income that's improving the quality of their life, changing the educational opportunities for their kids, changing the way that they can retire, all those types of things. How's that make you feel? In just 10 years.
Really, really grateful. I'm really grateful that I get to be a part of that. That's something that as an introvert too, like the community of people, it wasn't something that I felt like I needed. Like I only need a few close friends, but being able to, be a part of that is something that is just a beautiful thing.
So you are 10 years in. Mm-hmm. What's the next step for you? What's the next level for you? What's the next dream, vision? What's on your vision board now? When you're writing I am on your list, what does that say now, if it's not too personal?
Well, my company allows us to re-enter under ourselves as our own level 1. Mm-hmm. And so I'm one rank away from the top position in the company on that leg as well. Okay. So that would be, a big goal for me.
And then?
Well, helping, actually, I have a lot of people that would love to be in the position that I'm in. And so I don't really feel like I'm done until I've helped those people achieve what I've achieved.
Yeah. What's interesting is we're trained to work only long enough so we can rest. We're trained to, work hard during the week so we can have the weekend. We're trained to work so we can retire. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned is if you're chasing an outcome and you get to the outcome, you only get the good feeling for a pretty short period of time. Mm-hmm. You buy the fancy car you always wanted, you only feel really cool about that car and then it just becomes a car. You're grateful, but it doesn't have that rush like you expected. Like when you see in the movies, the person gets super successful or whatever, and they achieve all this stuff and they're on the beach sipping pina coladas. Well, after like 2-3 weeks of pina coladas on the beach, mm-hmm. It's like, I got to get off this beach. Or I'm going to have to build a business on the beach somewhere, or I'm going to have to like start a jet ski business because they're not doing enough jet skis over there. I could rent these chairs and I could rent umbrellas. And I got to do something, I got to contribute in some way. But the thing that I found interesting for myself, and I don't know if it's true for you, but once you get your own financial needs met, so long as you have a reasonable sense of self-worth, if you don't have a reasonable sense of self-worth, you'll find a way to walk away from that money. Even if you're making good money, you'll find a way to lose it. You'll find a way to invest it badly. You'll find a way to give it away. You'll find a way to blow it somehow, sabotage your own business if your self-worth isn't right. But if your self-worth is reasonable and you get your needs met, there's fuel in having that security, but there's super fuel in contributing to other people. Mm-hmm. It's so cool when you're just like, I'm not worried about paying the bills. I'm going to pour myself into somebody else. I'm going to find somebody who's hungry like I was. Find somebody who's looking for belief and conviction and a plan like I was. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to show them the way from where they are to where they want to be. So that what I see in you is a person that's what's driving you today. Is that true?
It is. It's true. Yes. And working from a place of significance.
What does that mean?
Where the value that you're getting out of what you're doing is that value of what you can contribute to somebody else or be a part of for somebody else.
Right. Legacy.
And legacy. Yeah. And then as a believer, like I want to make sure that my ultimate goal is whatever direction God wants to take me in.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Right. Interesting. You said we'd talked 2-3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yes.
And explain the conversation before we ended up connecting, or explain what happened.
Okay, so I was in my office at home, and my husband now, because I'm remarried to a wonderful man, great relationship. He had just completely redone my office for me, and I was in my office working, and I was I've never had a moment where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. Like you say, like when you have choices, I was like, I could choose to stop right now. Like I really could. And I prayed and I was like, God, I don't know which direction like I should be going right now. Should I still continue to push forward, or should I just be content and happy? And I told him, like, you have to tell me, like, I need you to tell me something. I need a sign, like, tell me. And you're kind of a big deal. And I opened up my phone, and you'd never reached out to me before or anything. And I get this message from you and an invitation here.
Yeah.
And I just knew like I had to say yes, because I was like, God, just tell me what the next thing you want me to do.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
How things get connected. Yeah. And somebody brought your name up to me, and I like, well, I need to know this person. So I sent you a message, I think on Instagram, and I just said, hey, congrats on your success.
Yeah.
Well done. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
And then we got on the phone and had a conversation, and
Yes.
And you ended up here at the mastermind, which I'm glad you were.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
So you can pour more into other people.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, what about your other 2 kids? Your other 3 kids? What are they doing? Are any of them working with you, or are they doing other things?
Well, my 2 youngest are signed up, and they're customers, but they're doing different pursuits.
Sure.
My youngest is actually going to be a stay-at-home mom. She's expecting her first baby. And,
hey, awesome.
Yeah, enjoying. Just recently married, and my son does concrete work
Awesome.
right now, and he's loving that. But I'm always telling him, like, please do this with me. He's thinking about it all the time. And my other daughter is actually involved in network marketing in another company.
Really? Wow, that has to be interesting.
And she's doing great.
Is she?
Yes.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. And I message her and tell her, like, I'm so proud of you. And yeah.
It's funny. My family has been, some of them have never been involved. They're still completely confused about what I do, or what I've been involved with for 35 years, or have misconceptions of it. Others have been involved, in and out, different companies, different situations, different opportunities. Some are full time, doing what they're doing. But it's fun when you can figure out a way to work with family if it's possible.
I love working with my daughter.
Yeah.
Because
not always possible. Sometimes the dynamic is a little bit unusual, that you have to navigate, as far as, your daughter being above you in the structure. I'm sure it's a different dynamic of being mom and daughter, inside of that, but, conversation, respect, and everything else, working through that. And she sounds like she's amazing. So, and it sounds like you have an amazing family.
Thank you.
And I will tell you this, just from me to you. If you've ever thought of slowing down, please don't. Not for the sake of being out of balance with your family and your time and everything else, but keep that balance. But at the same time, pour yourself into as many people as possible, because your story, your message, your energy, your vision, your success can be an inspiration to a lot. Okay.
Thank you.
We promise?
Yes.
Next level?
Yes.
It's going to be big stuff?
Yeah, as long as you help me.
I will. We're going to be friends forever.
Okay.
All right. So I appreciate the conversation. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
So that's my conversation with Lori Bradford. I hope you got value from it. If you did, please always make sure to share this with somebody else, to make sure that you subscribe, to get this into your ears, maybe listen to it 1 or 2 more times. If you did hear about this next level mastermind event and you're curious about it, if you're making $250,000 a year or more in network marketing commissions, you're eligible to apply. You'll find the link in the show notes below. If you'd like to apply for that, we can have a conversation, see if it's a fit for you. Okay? But pay this forward. Make sure that you like it. Make sure that you subscribe. Throw a comment of what maybe you learned in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.